Feet flat on the floor if you can get them there. Just relax your body. Start to let the day, anything that's happened during the day, anything that's on your mind about what may happen tonight or tomorrow, just let that all fade away. Or begin to fade out of your system, as if you were a big bathtub full of water and someone just popped open the drain. Just let that all start to leave your body. Let's take a deep breath in. And then blow out anything that's going to keep you from being present on this particular call. One more. Deep breath in. And blow it all the way out. Slowly wiggle your fingers and toes and come back into your room, come back into your body. Slowly begin to open your eyes. You know, what's interesting is right after the last call we did last week where we did a meditation, someone sent me an email saying, that's the first time in about a week that I'd stopped and taken 3 breaths. And I went, that's interesting. That wasn't exactly the point of what we were doing, but I'm so glad it was one of the unintended consequences. And it's something anybody can do all the time. So before we dive into our featured guest tonight and the awesomeness that's going to come from him, I want to read you guys something. A few of you that have been on my private calls have heard this before, but this is something that I've read probably 10 times in the last 2 weeks. And I think it's really fitting for what we're talking about tonight. And it's called Playing Hurt by Steven Pressfield. Does everybody know who Steven Pressfield is? He's an amazing author that's written about 90 books, and I think 4 or 5 of them are massively successful. I'm pretty sure he's written some screenplays as well. He is a big deal. His book, The War of Art and Turning Pro, have been hugely instrumental in my life and in the lives of a lot of entrepreneurs and especially writers. So here we go. The past 2.5 years have been really rough for me. Issues of love and work, health and mortality have pushed me into places I've never been before. Yet through all of this chaos, I've produced some of the best work of my life. I think there's a connection. It's a myth, in my opinion, that we need to have our ducks in a row to produce good work. When I first started writing seriously in my late 20s, I would work for 10 hours a day in the prime of health with nothing to distract me. Now, I'm lucky if I get an hour and a half and I've got more balls in the air than I can count. Yet I do more now and do it better than I did then. When I was finishing The Profession 18 months ago, I was so sick that I had to work standing up, naked from the waist down, don't ask. I was so unstable emotionally that I couldn't be alone at night. I was riddled with doubt. I had lost all bearings. Yet the work was good. The idea that we need to be fit and trim and sane and organized to do good work is baloney. The best stuff I've done, I've produced under excruciating pressure of time and money, amid massive resistance, insecurity, and self-doubt, with my personal life in chaos. Not that I'm recommending such a state, but the fact remains. You can light up the board even with both hands tied behind your back and your feet sunk in 40 pounds of cement. Athletes play hurt. Warriors fight scared. Mothers give birth cursing and babies emerge to daylight, bawling and thrashing and wishing only to turn around and crawl right back where they came from. The act of creation, particularly self-creation, is messy. It hurts. It's terrifying. But panic, self-doubt, claustrophobia, morbid dread, and all the classic, quote, all is lost, unquote, symptoms are good. Even if they scare the bejesus out of us while we're experiencing them. They're good because they are the product of being in over our heads. And being in over our heads makes us stretch and grow, stretch and recover, stretch and recover. I've been on the road for the most of the past 2 months doing work that's at least one, if not two levels beyond my capacity. It has paralyzed me at times. There were mornings when I woke up in my hotel room and had to say to myself, literally, now, Steve, brush your teeth. I had to make my hand pick up the brush. I had to walk myself into the shower. If I could have pushed a button and magically rematerialized at home, I would have done it. Yet the work came out great. This will be a short post with a short moral. It's hard. It's supposed to be hard. If you're experiencing it as hard, you are not crazy. You're sane. Your perception is on target. When you're stretching, it's hard, and that's all there is to it. I'll try to remember that if you will. And so I read you guys that because what we're talking tonight about is the power of story and the power of the stories we tell ourselves and the limiting beliefs that are often planted in those stories or supported by those stories. And how many of us on this call, and I'll put my hand up in all honesty, have said, I will do X when I'm so ready and I know the outcome is guaranteed, whatever that Y is, right? Or I'll go to the gym when I get in shape. I'll write that book when I do X. I'll start X when Y, over and over and over and over. And I'll introduce Jeremy in a second here, but he and I are both coaches who deal with people every single day. And I believe the core of what we deal with is the stories that those people tell themselves. And when we can take those stories apart, sometimes gently, sometimes with a bomb, and say, look what's underneath there. What you're telling yourself, is it true? And I'll come back to this later in the call. Is it true? Is it provable? Are you too old? Are you too young? Are you too fat? Are you too thin? Are you too rich? Are you too poor? Do you not have enough information? Do you need X? Do you need Y? Do you really? If I could find someone who wants to do the thing that you want to do and they're doing it with less information, less age, less money, less whatever, would that prove your story false? And just having the awareness of looking at that story from a different angle, or from a, wow, maybe that's not really true. Oftentimes that blows it up. So Jeremy and I are going to dive into that in a minute. For those of you on the call who don't know me, my name is Traver Boehm. I'm the founder of Man Uncivilized and the Uncivilized Nation, and I'm an author, speaker, and coach, primarily working with men, but also working with a number of female clients. And I say I get people from A to B. That's what I do. And I do it faster than they can do on their own. And guess what? I hire people to get me from A to B, because I can sit and tell a client, here are all the ways that your story's bullshit, and then get on the phone with a coach and be like, no. I'm actually a unique human. My situation is entirely unique to every other human on the planet. So allow me to not do this thing that I said I want to do because of this brilliantly crafted story, and then watch them blow it up. And one of those people in my life who I will talk to, not professionally, but personally on the reg, is the man who I'd love to introduce right now, the author of It'll Be Okay and So Will You, the founder of...
Close. It's not quite the title, but it's close.
It'll Be Okay and You Will Be Too. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Jeremy Goldberg.
Yeah, hey. What's up?
I'm unmuting myself just to clap. But Jeremy, you give everybody a little a quick and dirty about who you are, what you do, and then how you help people with story.
Yeah. Hey, buddy.
Hey, man.
So who am I? My background is so I have a similar like elevator pitch. I say that I help people get where they want to go, right? Like I help people understand what they truly want and then how to get there. And I do that by helping them to identify, quite simply, like, where do you want to go? Where are you now? And like, what's the route, right? Mm-hmm. In like the most easily, most fun, most efficient way possible. But my background is in science. I'm a science nerd, for many, like, proudly. Yeah. For many years, I worked in government and universities internationally on conservation and sustainability issues. And so I was involved in management, trying to change people's behaviors, trying to influence the actions that people do. And that led me to doing a PhD where I was exploring human behavior and trying to understand our belief systems and how we can actually influence those beliefs. And I did that from an environmental context, which is like, how do we convince people to buy solar panels, not litter, respect the laws, save the coral, save the fish, etc. So that's my background. And then when I was doing that PhD, I started this side project called Long Distance Love Bombs, which was me trying to make kindness cool and the world better than yesterday. And I was just writing and ranting and talking about compassion and love and vulnerability and heartache and all this stuff. And then after a couple of years, I kind of like synergized both of those and became a coach and started doing online workshops and teaching online courses and trying to basically help people understand this wild, ridiculous thing called life.
Yeah.
And as you say, just trying to explore the right questions, explore the foundational ways that our brains work.
Yeah.
And trying to manipulate that in a way that's like gets us where we want to go, basically.
Beautiful.
That's my jam.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for coming on here. Let me just dive right in with some questions that I'm always curious about, and I think will help people out there too, is do you think it's more important for people to know where they are, know where they're going, or have any idea of the pitfalls that may be befalling them? Do you have a priority list with any of those?
Like just off the top of my head, I think it's more important to know where you are than where you want to go. And I say that like a vague or like a crap map is better than no map.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I feel like if you know where you are and you can be happy in the present moment and you can enjoy your life as it is now, then like the future idea kind of becomes irrelevant and in a sense, right? And so for me, I try to tease that out of like, why are you not happy and content and thriving now? What's going on now? And oftentimes that involves, like I said, that movie Benjamin Button?
Yeah.
Like this, I love tangents and profanity as well. To those of you who don't know me.
Oh yeah. You can see what you can want here.
Yeah. So like fucking Benjamin Button, right?
Yeah.
So he starts as this old man and then he like grows backwards into like this fetus or whatever.
Yeah.
So I like help people understand, like, let's start in the future and then we'll work back to the present. And then like to really explore the present, you have to understand the past because the past is where we sort of were taught what to think, what to believe, our past relationships, past trauma, childhood, breakups, all that shit has written these stories, these narratives in our brains that are affecting how we operate now. And so for me, it's like about understanding all of that previous stuff and exploring that and then getting good now. And it's like, okay, now you're strong and you're happy and you're content now. Now, where do we want to go? Right?
Beautiful.
And I think it can be very overwhelming for people sometimes to get stuck in the future or the past and not be here now. And so when we do that, a lot of our problems are created simply in that. Like, what's going to happen? What'll this happen? What'll happen? It's like, take some breaths, man. Chill.
Yeah. My buddies, he said this quote, and I think it was his dad or grandfather, but he probably stole it from someone else. Don't worry about the donkey going blind. Just load the cart.
I like that.
I'd say it all the time where people are like, but what if 2 years down the road, this whole project's failed? So it's like, what are you going to do today?
Yeah.
And what if it does?
What if it doesn't?
Deal with that then. Yeah. What if it's wildly successful?
What if the donkey has 20/20 vision the rest of his life? Fuck the donkey. Like, get another donkey. Donkeys are expendable.
This kind of genius is why I wanted you to come on.
I'm getting fired
up. You guys
up.
can tweet that. Donkeys are expendable.
Hashtag. Hashtag donkeys are expendable. Hashtag fuck the donkey.
We're going to get so much hate mail from PETA. It's okay.
Oh, dear.
If you would, you're a prolific writer.
Yeah,
prolific writer.
Yeah.
What's the story that you believe about your writing? Because I'll ask you this, I'll preface this by saying I have a lot of writers contact me with the question of, what's your writing process? What's your morning routine? What's the tea that you drink before you sit down and write? And I say, like, none of that means shit. The story, I'll tell my story after. What's the story you tell yourself about writing, if you do?
So my story is that I am my whole business is reliant upon my content, and the way that I produce content is to write. Like that's my medium of choice. Like that's my instrument, if you will. And so years ago, I just decided that I'm going to write every day. Like I'm going to make it a thing where I just write every day. And if I want to get better at my business, then I need better content. And the way to get better is to do work, is to like practice, right? I just decided years ago to initiate a writing practice. And to like make, like yoga practice, meditation practice, whatever, like practice. But like, so like practice doesn't make perfect, like perfect practice makes perfect, right? Because you can practice like with music blasting and you're not really focused and you're not like really in the zone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Practice like, anyway, so I decided to do that. And I was at the time a full-time like student / employee for the government. And I was starting this side project, and I was working in the evenings, and I was on the weekends, like cramming time into this passion project. And I would get home from work and I was like really exhausted working all day. And it was tired. And then one day I just had this brilliant, simplistic insight, which is, what if you just got up earlier and right? Which at the time, man, for me, this was like, what if you prioritize the thing that you want to prioritize? It was like an epiphany or wrapped in a miracle, man.
Right.
I started going to uni like earlier, and I would write for like an hour in the morning, like 7 to 8 or whatever it was. Not every day, but pretty much every day. Right. And then like at 8 a.m. I imagined that I had this little dude in my head controlling these levers, and I would like shut down artist, creative, writer, and like scientist, like engage. And I would like, turn on my fucking like Excel spreadsheet superpower and my PowerPoint and like analytical science voice. So that was like for years, man, that was my thing. But I just made it a practice of like, no, I write. And then the funny thing that happens with that is you shift or for me at least, I started shifting my identity of how I saw myself. And it became this thing of like, no, like I write every day. Like, period, man. Like, I don't fuck around with that. It's like, it gets done. And I started to crave it. Like it became like eating or drinking or showering or whatever. It was just like, no, like I have to feed the pony, feed the donkey, whatever.
Feed the donkey.
Yeah. Hashtag feed the donkey.
So your story became that you were a writer.
Yeah, man. And I remember the first time I'd written this originally, like all these blogs, and I was trying to publish it. And this woman who I'd just met introduced me to somebody else. This is like 6-7 years ago. Yeah. Said, oh, this is Jeremy. He's a writer. Right. And inside my whole body, like constricted. And I was like, no, I'm not a writer. Yeah. But because I had in my head this vision that like writers publish award-winning books and like they get paid and they do all the things. And now I firmly believe that like if you write every day, you're a fucking writer. Yeah. If you do yoga every day, you're a yogi. Like period. Yeah. Paint every day, you're an artist. Like and I believe we're all artists. So that's how I view writing now, is like it's just a thing that I do. Like, that's just it. Like I love words, and lyrics, and like, man, I get inspired by fucking terrible advertising campaigns and billboards, like logos. Yeah. Words, right? Conversations, man. Hang out with me long enough and I'll inevitably say this to you. I'll be like, ooh, that's a good line. Yeah.
I'm stealing that, huh?
And I'll write it down in my notes on my phone. And or I'll say, you're going to see that on Instagram one day.
Yeah, I know.
Freaking steal it.
I'm stealing it. I tell people all the time, oh man, I'm stealing that.
Stealing
Beautiful. I hope people got from that the story he was telling himself shifted.
Totally.
Right. And had to start with this. The story is I write every day, period. Whether I get paid for it, it's published. People like it. It's good. I write every day. And especially if anybody on this call, we'll just shift this, keep this to writers, because so many writers out there are struggling with the one thing that they claim they want to be doing, which is writing. And last week I talked about resistance because of Stephen Pressfield, and talk about resistance a lot. If you don't know what resistance is, it's Stephen Pressfield's idea that when you make a claim in the world that you're going to do something, an equal, if not stronger force of opposition gets born to go against you. Right. And so one of the things I said last week, which I believe fully, is that resistance sleeps in. And that's the story I tell myself. So when I was on the phone last week with a buddy who's been trying to write a book for 4 years and kept grilling me on my morning routine as if there was some combination of elements that tea plus candle plus journal plus meditation plus push-ups was what birthed my books. And I said, here's my morning routine when I'm writing. I get up, I pee, I pour a cup of coffee, I sit down and I start typing. And anything that comes between eyes open and typing, besides peeing and coffee, is going to try to kill my idea for the day. And I believe that if I open my email, there's like sabotage. Resistance has sent me emails that are going to be like, don't write today. Here's some important shit you have to handle.
Yeah.
Right. If I check my phone, there's going to be text messages that will be like, don't write today. Let's create some drama. And boom, it's inevitable. Yeah. So let me shift gears. So writers, you've heard from 2 writers here who have written books. We get up, we write. If you're a painter, get up and paint. If you're a guitarist, get up and play the guitar. Whatever it is that you do, get your ass up early and get to it. Jeremy, would you mind telling us a little bit about any story you have from a client or working with someone who the story was so clear to you that they were telling themselves that was getting in their own way, and how you helped them clear through it? Do you have an example that pops into your head?
Yeah, there's countless, man. But like one that was like really fun and very easy for me. Mm-hmm. You have like easy clients and then you have like kind of harder clients, right?
Yeah.
Or the problems are more in depth. So this is like a really easy one for me, where I was like, so this woman's telling me like, I really want to be a coach. I really want to be a writer, mm-hmm. but I'm not doing it. And so we were like working through it. Right. And I was like, okay, why don't you tell me what's going on, like where you're at. She's like, well, I've got a full-time job, but I write every day. I've written 300 blog posts in the last year. I just launched my website. I bought a domain. I'm starting to get coaching clients. And, but it's not working. Right. So I was like, what do you mean? And so I just told this woman, I'm like, you're already there. Like you're doing it. This is literally how you start a business. This is literally how you start as a writer. You're doing it.
Yeah.
Right? And just that perspective shift changed everything for this lady. And she suddenly realized that she's doing enough. And that she's where she needs to be. Mm-hmm. And that like all the fear and the feelings that were coming up for her in her process were like, were okay mm-hmm. and normal. Mm-hmm. And that was really empowering for her. And that just becomes, again, part of the identity shift, right? Of how you see yourself. And so from that point forward, we had this joke where she would just email me and be like, I'm already doing it. And I was like, yeah. Exactly. You're like, here's your invoice, but right. You're already doing it. And so I think it's it's all different by individual. Like we all have our own blocks and limitations that are based on our own programming. Right. So, so the work of like coaching is to sort of tease out or sort of like poke in here in a bunch of different ways. And then be like, oh, that one's sensitive. Like, let's play with that. Like I use that line of like, Like, hey, do you want to dance with that for a minute? And then now the clients that know me, they're like, oh no, like what have you found? Or like, what, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's the way I see it, right? Is, because we're born just blank canvases, right? Or blank pages, babies. Like none of these babies grow up or are born. You don't see 6-month-olds like, I'm so inadequate. Like I'm such a bad crawler.
Yeah.
And I'm the worst nipple sucking thing that's ever been around. Like it's all learned. You know what I mean? Like it's all learned behavior, and so I think that's a really empowering thing too. Is that at our core foundational humanness,
right?
We're not our beliefs. We're just ourselves, and that because the beliefs are learned, they can also be unlearned. And in that way, beliefs are choices.
Yeah.
That to me is like one of the most profound and powerful things that I know to be true.
Would you mind saying that again in case anybody missed it?
Yeah, in like a really deep voice as well.
Yeah, can you just like it? Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna start charging for these. Go for it.
Yeah, this is gonna be sultry.
Yeah.
No, but like, so beliefs are choices. Like if you remember nothing else from this call except me talking about donkeys, like beliefs are choices.
Right.
And what I mean by that is that I feel, or I know that beliefs are, if you imagine like a pyramid of sorts, like our beliefs are like the foundational elements of our existence. And our beliefs will affect our attitudes and our emotions and our feelings and our actions, etc. And then then those things will scale up and affect our quality of life, our mood, etc. And I think that at the foundation of it is a belief system.
Right.
It is just a program operating in the computer that is our brains, that was installed at birth or after birth. In the first year it was installed, and then periodically there's like an upgrade of like, oh, here's some bonus trauma, or like, oh, here's some heartbreak to make you know that life is hard and the world is evil. You know what I mean? And then we learn these things, and in response we live in such a way that protects us or helps us to thrive or be comfortable, right?
Right.
And then we get older and we're like, man, shit is fucked. I don't understand my life. Like, what's going on? I've got the house, I got the kid, I got the pet, I got the car.
Yeah.
And like, there's something missing, right? It's that classic going on. And it's something going on in here, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of a long rant, but
no. I think it's super important for all of us, myself included, to be able to ask honestly. This is what I sort of brought up in the beginning. Of when you run into your limiting story, I ask clients all the time, is it true?
Yeah.
Like, is it real? Is what you just said actually true? Yeah. And if so, is it provable?
I ask for evidence. Yeah,
I do too. Yeah. Is there literally no one your age doing the thing you want to do because you said you're too old? Is there no one older than you? If I can find one person that's 42 that's starting a business and you're 39, you're fucked. Yeah. Welcome to coaching.
Yeah. And you get these very sweeping generalizations, usually indicated by the words never or always.
Always.
Like, all the men in New York are assholes. You're like, really? All of them? Or like, I always get laid off or whatever. Or, we forget that overall life is pretty freaking great.
Yeah.
For all of us. Like, we've got spleens and toes and eyes, and like, do you know how much has to go right every day for your heart to beat blood through microscopic tunnels all over your body?
Yeah.
Or just that you can understand what I'm saying because I'm making weird noises in my mouth.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot that's going right. And I think we can lose sight of that amidst the pain and the big picture kind of stuff.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. So we just had a question. Would you mind if I unmuted you and just had you ask this out loud so we can, instead of me reading it?
Yeah.
Go for it, brother.
Sorry, guys. I'm just sitting in a cafe right now.
It's okay.
I just wanted to say, I sort of wrote down that why does it seem like when we deconstruct our belief system, when we find some sort of freedom and light in that, it somehow finds its way back together. It's like those days where you just have an amazing day and you go to bed feeling amazing about how you have shifted your belief system, and then you wake up in the morning and it's like you're back to square one, like Groundhog Day.
Jeremy, you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I can rant about that for
sure. I'll jump in after.
So these are just initial thoughts, but one thing that comes to mind is like our belief systems and like our neural pathways biologically in our brain have been wired over decades, right? So imagine running the same or walking the same path through the fields for 30 years, and it starts to get worn in, right? And it's like a dirt path amidst the grass. And then suddenly you're like, oh, I don't like this path. I want to walk this new way. And like, it's just easier to walk on that path. And so our brains are kind of hardwired to operate as efficiently as easily as possible. And so we often don't spend time consciously and deliberately processing all the things that we have to do day after day after day. And so because of the efficient nature of the brain to save energy and save time and operate quickly, we often just make these snap judgments. And so it's like, like something will happen and it'll just be like an immediate response. So, you know, maybe you'll get insulted and your brain's like, insulting means anger. Oh, I need to be angry, right? And so then that's the old hardwired system of like the dirt path, so to speak. And then the process of changing that is like cultivating a pause between that response, or between the thing that's happened, the stimulus, pause, response, right? And so in that pause lies the magic of like consciously thinking, okay, what else could this mean? Or what's the most beneficial way for me to respond? Or, you know, who do I want to be in this moment? And then the more that you do that, it's a practice, again, the better that you get. And then you sort of start to create this new path of like, oh, when I get insulted, I pause. Or does that make sense? And so it can be really frustrating because you want to change it and you know better, but there's this still automated process going on that has been decades in the making, right? And so if it's been decades in the making, it's going to take a little bit of time to rewire yourself. That's my initial.
Beautiful.
Snap. What do you think, Trevor?
I have a less scientific thought of it, and more so of just the same brain that we use to, you know, design our to do our checking account, to get from A to B, to make eggs in the morning. That's not the brain we make big life-changing pattern decisions with. Of, I'm going to be more peaceful. I'm not going to drink alcohol. I'm going to only date people who respect me. I think that happens on a much lower level in our body. I'm not sure how else to describe this other than it's guttural, which is oftentimes it takes a trauma. I call it, it takes the veil being pierced, and really it's the veil of our ego, where when people, and I know personally, when people experience major traumas and in that moment make a life-changing decision of, okay, that's the last time, you know, they get pulled over for a DUI and they spend the night in jail and they go, that's the last time I'm ever having a drink. And boom, they do. Where perhaps for the 6 years prior, they flirted with the idea of like, I'll just quit drinking in January. I'll quit drinking, etc. It takes something to take that decision and drop it down. Now that's also, it can be done consciously, but as Jeremy said, it takes almost a meditative practice of having the space between the natural instinctive response and the creation of a proactive response, where you're going to go decision, stimulus, response. Decision, stimulus, pause, oh fuck, response. Stimulus, pause, decision, different response. And then just like he said, that pathway through the field, the more times that pathway, that new pathway gets walked, the more often it gets solidified. And then suddenly what happens is you'll get that same stimulus, and before you can even think to pause, you enact the new response. You enact the more conscious response. And so much of this, I think, is about the consciousness with which you carry out your day. So if you are actually in practice of meditation, if you are in practice of every single time you think of it or not, you stop and take a deep breath and know what the hell's going on around you, then this becomes much easier and easier and easier. Unfortunately, we are all hooked to unconsciousness devices throughout the day. Put your phone down for an hour, do 15 minutes of free writing, take 10 deep breaths and go walk around and see how much control you have over your thoughts and your responses. And then hop on Instagram for a couple hours and, screw around and be unconscious and do the same. And then you'll see how much more challenging it is.
And I think just to add to that,
Sure.
I think another way to practice this is not necessarily waiting for those potential responses to trigger that pathway, but to go out and actively seek to experience the world in the way that you want to see it. And what I mean by that is, if you want to be more grateful, for example, if you want to change your belief, that good things happen to me or whatever, then you actively seek that. And that might mean write down 10 things every day that you're grateful for, or to go for a walk and find 5 things that really blow your mind because they're beautiful. So you're basically actively trying to see the world in a different light. And in the same way of anything that you practice, it slowly becomes easier and easier and easier the more that you do it. And you can do that with virtually anything. Of like, if you want to be a more confident person, be like, before you go to bed, like, what are 3 things today where I was confident? Or, hey, I'm going to go on my lunch break. I need to be confident. Like, I've got a woman who's a client of mine, and I've given her a challenge for this week to actively ask for help because she has a really hard time receiving, and she has a really hard time approaching other people. And she believes that, this, and that. And I was like, all right, guess what? Your challenge is every day this week to go and you have to ask strangers for help, and you have to put yourself in that place. And so in that way, she's practicing the process of receiving. She's practicing the process of being confident to talk to strangers. And it's going to shift the way that she sees the world now. So you can create these little experiments for yourself. Like I was going through the airport like a week ago, and I was like, my challenge, because these long lines are driving me cuckoo up a tree, security and whatnot. I'm like, I'm going to challenge myself to make every person that I interact with smile. Like that was it was just like a dumb little woo-woo cliche challenge thing, right? I'm like, if I put myself in that mindset, like I'll probably be better off for it. And it was like a game, right? And it was like, and then I became like a little bit more charming and a little bit more happy and a little bit more confident. And my experience in that security line was different as a consequence, because I chose to be like, I'm gonna put these lenses on, my freaking confident lenses or whatever, and I'm gonna actively see the world in that way. So that's a different way to play with that same idea.
I love it, love it, love it. And since we're talking about story, just to add on to that, start to become hyper vigilant about the words that you use all day, every day. You're going to catch yourself saying a quick sentence and be like, oh shit, that's not true. Or, oh shit, I just said that because I think I want to bond with these people, and complaining is an easy way to bond. Words are things. They're actual things. I like to tell clients that when you say a word, it's as if a physical thing gets birthed into the world, and you take that physical thing and you put it in a backpack, and you carry that backpack with you all day. And so if you say, this sucks, I hate it, this is the worst place I've ever been, I can't believe these fucking people, how come someone can be FaceTiming in the airport? I've never said that myself personally, but why would you be FaceTiming in the airport? What's wrong with you? I'm now walking around with that backpack, as opposed to, man, just like Jeremy said, creating a frame for the experience with my own words. I'm going to play a game. This is the beauty of being human. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do. So you can create these little games and experiments all day long of, I want to walk through this airport and have people think I am the funniest guy in here. and just play it as a game. It's an experiment. There's nothing wrong. There's no wrong that will come of it. And you can do that with every room you walk in. You can do it with every date you go on, with every phone call you make. You can set the frame of, hey, this is how I want this to be. And then choose the words that that person or someone having that experience would have. Beautiful. Let's see. Did we get another? We got a couple more questions here. Nicola, I would love if we could unmute you and just ask you if there's anything that you're dealing with or would love to share, or anything we can help you with, since I think you came the furthest.
I haven't came yet.
Oh, please. This is what happens. It's Thursday nights in Uncivilized land. Go for it. I haven't either, but the night's young, right?
I haven't actually got a question. I'm really enjoying the conversation. I will chime in thoughts become things, and I am a firm as fuck believer in choosing your choices and the words that come out of your mouth every day, and choosing to come from a space of love and from a heart space to everybody that you interact with, irrespective of what they shining at you or what you're shining back at them. It's something that I work on every single day. When I wake up in the morning, if I feel like I'm waking up in a shit position, like I'll literally get back into bed and climb back out again and go, okay, fuck, I'm having a good day today. And because I said that, I will. And I choose it because I believe it. Beautiful. So for me, I just think I love watching you guys, and I love learning things, and I am loving you guys raising the vibration of the planet, and I'm just like, rock on.
Thank you. You know, even when Jeremy and I talk, we'll catch each other, or we'll catch ourselves and say, like, you know what? Let me take that back. I don't want those words out in the world. And for all of you, if you can find people in your life and have that standard, right? Be vigilant about the words that come into your ear. Be vigilant about the words that people speak around you. One of the few times I will unload on clients, especially men, is when they call themselves names. When they say, like, God, I was such a fucking pussy this weekend. I did this, or I was just being a little bitch. And I will literally be like, you're about to get a piano dropped on you. Because that shit is so unacceptable, and I wouldn't allow you to speak it to a 10-year-old in front of you, or yourself, or anybody I knew and anybody I liked. So don't you ever, ever, ever say that shit around me again. And usually there's like that coming out of the, but I believe it, right? Do you as well, Jeremy? Talk to me a little bit, if you would, about how you interact with clients and their words.
Oh, yeah. Well, I love that visual of a piano being dropped on you.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it goes back to this idea of like, it's very easy to bully ourselves, or to get in these like spiral patterns of like, you know, I catch myself often being like, oh, you're an idiot. Like, wait, no, you're not an idiot. An idiotic thing. Like that's different. Like, you're not stupid. You didn't think through what happened. Like, I literally just yesterday did a podcast with this person.
Yeah.
It was fucking great. And it was 100 minutes, and it was fire. It was so good. And they leave, and I pushed to listen to it again. And like their voice is so washed out. And I realized I had the wrong setting on the stupid fucking gizmo. They made the symbols look very similar. One of them is 2 circles like this, and one of them is 2 circles that barely, you look on your mic, man, you'll see it. So I was like, ah,
yeah,
you idiot. And I was just like, wait, no, this is an opportunity to learn to be more careful next time with the details, right? Or like, so Tony Robbins has that great line of like, how can I use this? What can I learn from this?
Right.
So I love that. But in terms of like words, yeah, man, words are fire. Words are power. And for me, I'm very, very heightened and sensitive to the way that people communicate about the world and about themselves when I'm dealing with clients. And I'm often in the same way of you are, of like, hang on, what can we play with that? Or, hey, what's another way to look at that? Or,
What's another way to say that?
Or call them out.
Right.
And I think the work then lies in that awareness aspect again of being conscious of how we communicate to ourselves primarily, because we're often stuck in here talking to ourselves, right? About whatever, like, oh, the so much traffic, or this idiot in front of me. And it's like, hang on, like, he might be in a rush to get to the hospital because his mom just died, or who knows.
Right.
But I think for me, like, seeing that compassionate side of the world is really a fun game. But
yeah, especially when people are compassionate outward, they will then have a much easier time to be compassionate inward. And shocking how much of humanity is actually kind and compassionate outward and absolutely brutal to themselves. The words that people say to themselves, the sentences that people say to themselves, the thoughts people say to themselves. And so often it is someone else's words that they heard in their life and are now just repeating. And repeating and are even unconscious about how often do you call yourself an idiot in a given week? Holy shit. Imagine if that was replaced with just maybe once, yesterday I would say you acted unskillfully, and so be it. And in the moment, and we were like, I acted unfucking skillfully, and throw a little, punch a pillow. But you're not stupid. You're a doctor. First of all, I have proof. Like, there's actual proof that you're a doctor.
Yeah.
That's true, right? Yeah, you're a doctor.
But like, I know in my heart that, like, if I can get that, and then, like, anybody can get that. You know what I mean? But, like, so to play with that a little bit more, one thing that I do with myself and with clients is have them name that voice. Like that Pixar movie where the dude has, like, a bunch of weird cartoon creatures in his brain?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's, like, the fucking angry guy and, like, the happy, blissful one. And then, like, I don't know what they are, but there's, like, a bunch of them. Like that's how we are.
Yeah.
And so there's real power I find in naming the voices and being grateful for the voices and recognizing that, like, there's 1,000 in there, of which one character might have a megaphone at this moment. Right. And so it's things like, oh, there's scared Sammy again. Like, hey, Sam, like, I hear you. I know you're scared about launching this website or submitting this article or having the conversation, but, like, and I know you want to keep me safe and I know you want to keep me comfortable, but, like, we're doing this anyway. So sit the fuck down, Sammy.
Yeah.
Anxious Allie or whatever, like, pissed off Peter, and, like, name them. And like, it's really helpful because then you can hear those thoughts and you'll be like, oh, Peter, what's up? Like, and the underlying importance of that is recognizing that you're not your thoughts in your head. You're, like, that great analogy, like, you're the sky and the thoughts are the thoughts are just clouds passing by. And so you're something more. You're not the words that you speak to yourself. You're not your job. You're not your car. You're not this. It's like you're something so much bigger and grander. And naming how you're feeling or how you're thinking is a powerful way to separate that from your true self.
Beautiful. Beautifully stated as well. Can you tell everybody a little bit about your book? Which I'm going to link again. And I love this thing. This is a daily, no matter what I do, or no matter what I have going on, I find something in here every day that I'm like, oh,
it's cute.
That's really, really good. That's really, really heartfelt.
Thanks,
I hate the words like, that's exactly what I needed today. But that's exactly what I needed today. Right.
Yeah. I'm happy to do that. I didn't anticipate a book plug or,
I don't care.
Whatever.
We're plugging your book.
Okay.
just a quick run. Like, what was the inspiration behind it?
Yeah. So like, I write a lot of, like, encouraging and inspiring shit, like high energy, get you through the day. Like, my Instagram feed is, like, a lot of, like, come on, we're conquering the world. Let's do it kind of shit. But then also I mix in a lot of, like, psychology and sociology and help people explain or help people understand why our brains work the way they do and how we can change it and all that shit. So the book is basically a collection of some of the more uplifting, like, short and sweet, internet meme, snazzy little mantra type of things that I've written. And the pages are perforated, so you can rip them out and, like, hang them or gift them or frame them or, like, leave them in random places throughout the world. And I just like the idea of encouraging action. So like letting people do something. So like rip this freaking thing out, hang it on your bathroom mirror, like see it every day. Like it's in your purse, put this in your rear view mirror of your car, like you use it, do it. Not instead of like just having knowledge and then it sits on a shelf and we forget about it.
Right.
But it started because years ago when I first started doing this long distance love bombs thing, I wrote these little love bombs and I just left them all over the place. Everywhere I went, like on the back of my business cards, I would just write little funny notes like, like you're a beautiful fucking tiger in the zoo of life, or what. I don't know, I just made that shit up, but like little things that like, and I would leave it like in the potato pile at the supermarket, or like underneath the windshield wiper of a car. And just like, I started just like throwing out this crap that I thought was inspiring. And so the book's just like a collection of that stuff.
Yeah. One of my favorites is the meaning of life is to love yours. And it's so profoundly simple. And to think of how many people have that question of what is the meaning of, why am I here? What am I doing? And you know, I work with a lot of men who, or even people, like, what is my purpose? I think, I don't know if I ever told you this, but Poe Bronson wrote the book. Is it like, what am I going to do when I grow up, or something to that effect? And I was on a trip in my 20s on a yacht for work. And I had that book. And this book, I was like, oh, I'll just read this and toss it. And then I gave it to the nanny, and the nanny gave it to the chef, and the chef gave it to our billionaire clients. They both read it. And every single person in the orbit read the book because they were like, I don't know why I'm here. From every station of life, from like a 19-year-old girl to a 72-year-old was trying to figure that one out. So I've linked Jeremy's book a couple places here, you guys. This is a great Christmas present. This is also just a phenomenal thing to have for yourself, and a fantastic resource. And I love your work. I think it's just so goddamn honest, and that we have a desert of at this current time. You know, there's a lot of.
I'm just gonna rant because I'm fired up now.
Go for it. Right, go for it.
But like, really, like, we need people living their dreams and like doing hard things and like launching the business and making the art and like speaking your truth and like having the hard chat with your boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or whatever. Like, we desperately need people coming alive. And like, and this complaining about the state of the world and this asshole president or whatever you believe, like, we need people loving themselves. We need people loving each other. We need more of that.
Right.
And so like my jam is, and sort of yours as well, Traver, is like helping us to help each other, help ourselves to like raise the energy, or whatever woo-woo term you want to use. But like, fuck, we've got some work to do.
Yeah.
We need to start doing it, you know? So
amen, brother.
There's real power in that. And if that book can help someone through the day, or like push you along a little bit to do the thing, then sweet. And if you need other work, also sweet. But like, please recognize that like it's all just a story, and you can be it until you are it, is this thing that I love saying. Decide what you want to be, go be it. I just posted on Instagram.
Yeah.
Just go and do the damn thing. Like, we need you.
Yeah.
Like, we need you. So I get really passionate about this. And
yeah, 100% right. I can tell it's so true. Right. And when you deal with people every day on this basis and go, no, it's just a fucking story. It's just a story. It's not true. You're lying to yourself. And
it's like the Matrix, man.
Years can be different if you just drop that fucking story and decide to consciously pick up another one.
Yes, that. And like, again, beliefs are a choice. And like, when you recognize that beliefs are a choice, that the narrative is just a story, that you're literally holding the pen and you're the critic. And so you're like creating your life and then tearing it apart. It's like this weird thing. And it's like, yo, just shut up, critic Charlie, or whatever the fuck you want to name him.
Yeah.
Like, grab the pen and like focus on that. Like that empowering process of like, don't like it? Sweet. look at it in a different way. Like, how can you be grateful for this now? What is this teaching you? Like, hate your boss. Awesome. He's teaching you a whole lot about patience. You know what I mean? Like, all these things, they're a part of the process of like elevating and growing and like becoming.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
I tell people that critic is like having a bipolar roommate. He's not moving out. Guess what? And some days he's going to be crassed on the couch, depressed, and some days he's going to be burning down your Christmas tree. Your job is to move forward anyway.
And someone told me the other day this really wonderful line, which is, your weaknesses are your strengths turned up too high. Have you ever heard that before?
No.
So for example, your weaknesses are your strengths turned up too high. For example, your inner critic turned up too high is a perfectionist.
Yeah.
Right? But like, it might be a strength that you have really strong attention to detail.
You give a shit.
Or that you you care.
Yeah.
Right? So in this way, that like what is really good in you, but it's just the volume's a little bit too high, can be perceived as a weakness, right?
Yeah.
Or I thought that was just interesting to play with, right? This idea of the things that you are challenged by or that you like dislike in yourself that you want to change. Like, there's something in those things that you can be grateful for.
100%.
Choosing to be grateful for those things and recognizing that it's trying to keep you safe and alive and comfortable and thriving. And it's all a story. And it's like, I see what you're doing there, but we're going to try this new thing. And I know it's scary and uncertain and unknown, but like, we're going. Mm-hmm. So like, I love you. Thank you. Crazy egoic thing. But like, we're going there.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Amen. And even people who have multiple New York Times best-selling books find themselves in hotel rooms having to tell themselves to brush their own teeth. So I think it's fair to also say there is no day when you wake up as an artist or creator or writer or entrepreneur or human when the problems stop. There just is no day. And so if we stop searching for that day and say, I will do today what I can do today, despite what's in front of me today, and make that the repetitive mantra, you will get so much further than waiting for that day that the heavens align and the clouds open up and the money is in the bank account and you're suddenly younger and you have a full head of hair and holy shit, it's off to the races.
Yeah. I think another way to look at that is, I love that and agree with that. And I would say, like, suffer better. Like choose better problems. Like, it's a really big problem to like not have enough money to pay your bills. Yeah. But it's also a big problem to like have so much money that you don't know where to invest it. You know, to use like a monetary thing. So like obviously one problem is greater than the other, but on some level they're still problems.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so recognizing that the problems don't go away, they just like become different and they evolve and like they get better.
More interesting.
You know, so like, yeah, your problem might be that your kid's like throwing a temper tantrum, but like years ago, it was a dream to have a kid, right?
Yeah.
So framing that big picture perspective, like I always say to people, like, how are you doing? Like people at work, you know, in line, cashiers and shit. Like, yeah, you know, I get off in 2 hours. And I'm like, oh man, they're bummed out. I'm like, oh man, remember like when it was a dream to get this job? Isn't that cool? And you just watch their faces and they're just like, oh yeah. Or like, oh man, remember how you really wished you got this gig? Or I don't know, like we forget that we're all living a dream that we used to have in some sense.
Amen. I think that's super, super powerful. You know, how often did we just want a single audience?
Totally.
A single client. I've done these webinars and shown up and been like, no one's here.
I remember getting texts from you about that.
Yeah, like literally.
Well, talk to one person and
no one's here. Yeah, I'm dating her. And so she showed up to the webinar because this is like a pity show up.
Yeah, man.
I'm going to cut that out of the recording. Yeah, they've always. Anyway, I don't want to take too much more of your time, but I would love it if we could. Can we announce what we have? We have a double top secret probation secret that.
Top secret. We haven't told anybody.
We haven't told anybody this.
Are we doing it?
Yeah, I think we should do it. Should we do it?
I mean, it's too late now. It'd be
okay. We're doing it.
Annoying to not do it now.
Okay. Have a great night. See you guys.
Yeah. See you guys. Take care. Take care, everybody.
Love you.
Do you ever have that with people and they're like, oh my God, I've got to tell you this thing. And they're like, okay, what is it? And they're like, oh, never, I'll tell you later. Like, oh, get fucked. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Do that.
That's why I lift weights. So it's like, nope, I'm not putting you down until you tell me.
Yeah, I don't have that physique.
It's coming. Don't worry. So Jeremy and I have been putting our heads together secretly for the past, like month, 2 months? A little while.
I would argue this is like a year in the making.
True. This is a long time in the making.
We tried to do the Central America thing.
Mm-hmm. So we are putting on a retreat on April 25th, 26th, and 27th and 28th, just outside of Flagstaff or Sedona, Arizona. And it's going to be 4 days of, there's a link to it if you guys are interested, of exactly what you've gotten tonight. The two of us.
Donkeys.
Yeah. There will be no donkeys. There will be no donkeys. Can you imagine people just hearing the audio of this? Anyway, we're getting a bunch of people together. We're living all in the same house. Yeah. We're doing workshops in the morning, workshops in the evening, throughout the days. We're taking people's stories and whatever it is that you want to build, whatever it is that you need to unlearn and reframe. And we're going to be doing that with you, with a group of people who are all in. That's the only requirement we have for this. Well, you got to be really nice. 2, you've got to be all in. You got to be willing to play full out and say, okay, this thing that I've wanted to do has been stuck up until now, and I'm willing to have it be blown wide open by these 2 guys in the community that's around us.
Yeah. We're going to fuck some people's shit up. In like the kindest, best way. You know what I mean?
Bestest way.
And we're going to like go in the jacuzzi and like there's a surprise nature adventure, and it's
we got a massive thing.
And it's a mansion that we've rented, and like it's going to be dope. But yeah, we're doing that thing. This is the official
launch of the Uncivil Bomb, Love Civil thing. Yeah, that we're.
I haven't even told my family I'm doing this. Actually, now that I think about it.
If you want, I can hold the recording, or we can just let's call them together after.
They're not gonna go.
Yeah, mine won't either. It's all good.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're doing that.
Yep.
And you've got a surprise workshop around self-defense.
Yeah, we're going to be teaching some boundary work, because I think especially for creatives, having strong boundaries is a challenge for us. We either have too strong of boundaries and we have to be forced to do exercises to receive help, or we have no boundaries or very limited boundaries, and people walk all over us in the name of helping. So yeah, I'm going to be running you guys through some very physical activities. In addition to all of the tricks that Jeremy and I know, we've put our heads together and crafted something that's extremely unique. And we'd love to see you guys all there.
That'd be fun. Arizona.
We're
going to be in Arizona. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're like living together. We're going to get a private chef and feed us all the food and snacks. You made it. You wanted me to bring that up.
Yeah.
In the sales page, I made a point to say there's gonna be lots of snacks, because the snacks, who doesn't like snacks?
Yeah. Anyway, we'd love to have you all there. Please pass it around if there's something you can't make the date. We're looking for good people. We're looking for people like you all who are willing to come on and again, play full out.
And it's small too. There's only 10 spots.
Yeah,
it's like a thing. It's like an intimate thing, you know.
We're getting after it. Yeah, we're not.
Yeah, if you know anybody in the region or that wants to come hang with a couple knuckleheads that
genius
talk a lot of genius doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm an acupuncturist. I may sort of be a doctor. All right, you guys. So lastly, please let me thank you, Jeremy, not just for your time and your energy tonight, but truly. Both as your friend and as a man, for what you're doing in the world. I mean that. I am eternally grateful to know you, to have you in my corner. But even if I didn't, I would be just grateful knowing you're out there planting the seeds and doing the work you are in the world. So if you guys would all just take a minute, and if you're not muted, if you are muted, just thank him for his time. And
I just want all the silent applause possible.
Yeah. Just bask in it. If we could golf clap for Jeremy. There we go.
This is fun, man. This is super
beautiful.
fun.
I love you. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next week. We got another one of these. Cheers, everybody.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy.
You're welcome. See you.